class where you get to try all the different pieces of equipment, and that includes dance trapeze. Dance trapeze is hung from one point rather than a circus trapeze, which is hung from 2 points like a swing, so it just goes back and forth. So dance trapeze hangs from one point just like the fabric, so that the range of motion is more circular. You can use the trapeze as a dance partner. We hang it anywhere from 6 inches above the ground to way above your head. There's lots of ways that you can play on it. We also offer lyra, which Whitney mentioned, which is a large hoop. Aerial fabric, we have hammock. We also have what we call the atom. So it's actually 3 lyras joined together. There's one that is horizontal, and then there's a second ring that is slightly vertical, and then another one that goes the other direction. So if you imagined like a 3-ringed atom, that's what it looks like, which is more of like an invented apparatus. So you go to the local welder and you give him some crazy idea of something you want to hang from, and then they make it for you. Some people use things like cubes, crescent moons, different things like that. But anyway, so you take an intro class and you get to try out all the different equipment. And then once you finish that intro class, you can choose a technique class that's specific to silks, to lyra, trapeze. We also offer performance labs. So once people get to a certain level, then they can join us and do performances with us. We've actually turned our studio into a small theater. So we have the support of our local university theater department, and they've come in and helped us with lighting and staging. It's quite spectacular. It's really, really neat, and we're super thankful for the support we have from the university and the arts in Stevens Point. So anyway, when we put on our shows, it's a full theatrical production, and it's really exciting and really cool. Whitney is the head choreographer / artistic lady for us, and she's very good at what she does.
Again, second.
Come on in. So as teachers, we train a few days a week just to kind of maintain where we're at and continue to go over new material, curriculum, improv, and tricks. It's obviously a very physical job. And most of our students are adults. We have just a small handful of children. It's, I'd say, 98% an adult program, which I think is really, really great because I think so often as adults we lose the opportunities to be creative. As a kid, you can go to dance or do the various opportunities that they have for kids. Even music and art and things like that. Once we become an adult, we enter the working world, those kind of opportunities are few and far between for us to be creative. And so I think it's really important that we can offer the opportunity for people to have a creative outlet, to use their bodies to be expressive. I think it's part of good mental health to be able to express yourself and be able to be creative. So not only do we do that, but then we also give you the fitness aspect of it, which is also really great and a lot of fun. Is anyone from central Wisconsin, Stevens Point area? Yeah, a couple of them. You will find aerial studios popping up all around the country, especially if you're in a bigger city. You'll find. you'll find these studios popping up. It's becoming more and more popular. I think right now in Wisconsin we have, there's a pole studio in Appleton that offers Lyra in addition to pole. Of course, we're in Stevens Point. There's the Madison Circus Space in Madison, Wisconsin. And there's a few yoga studios here and there offering aerial yoga. I know in Oshkosh at Inner Sun you could take an aerial yoga class. I believe there's a lady in La Crosse who through a yoga studio is offering aerial yoga as well. So no aerial dance in La Crosse, but yeah, so. I think one of the deterrents to people, to there being more studios, although they are opening up, you are seeing more and more of them, is just the sheer expense, because like I said, it's considered such high risk activity that some of the costs involved in setting up a studio are pretty high, and that's mostly your insurance costs. So we've never had an accident or an injury in our gym. We're very careful, we're very safe. Are you tired yet? A little bit. It takes a lot out of you, more than you might think. So.
And there's other apparatus to it. I think it kind of depends on the apparatus.
Mm-hmm.
So this one takes, I think, quite a bit more out of you than
Right.
say the Lyra hoop.
Mm-hmm.
The Lyra hoop, you've got this nice perched place to sit that doesn't necessarily depend on being wrapped up in it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this does. So even when I'm relaxing in here, I'm still holding tension in certain parts of the body.
Right. I would say silks is probably the most difficult.
I personally
Yeah.
think so. Heck yeah.
Even something like bungee, where you're in a belt, like a stunt belt, with the bungees connected to your belt. Yeah, you're kind of in there like a baby in a Johnny jumper. You're just kind of dangling and hopping around. But even that gets really tiring. And I would also say that every piece of equipment has a little bit of a pain threshold involved that you have to be willing to work with. So on fabric, you have to be comfortable with the idea of the tightness of the fabric around a part of your body. And that might be your ankle, your torso, knees, things like that, elbows. If you're on a bar, like a Lyra or a trapeze, you're working against a piece of steel. And so, your knees, a lot of people get bruises on the backs of their knees, on their hips from rolling on it. The bungee, being in it, I don't know if any of you have ever been in a stunt belt, but it's really uncomfortable. They're extremely tight so that you can't fall out of it. And you have nerves and things in your legs, and your legs can actually start to go numb in them. So you have to know when it's time to come out.
I will say though, I was surprised to find, and that's why I came over here and wanted a drink, and I actually wanted to explain a little bit about that, because I personally thought you feel very uncomfortable when you try some of these things. Parts of your body that maybe you didn't even realize you owned. I've come home a few times and my husband's looked at me like, what did you do? Where are you? But you actually get used to it very, very quickly. I'd say within like a week or two, and you're like, oh, this doesn't bother me anymore.
Right.
It's just kind of, it's like walking down the street. Once you get used to it, it's That's fine.
Sometimes I like to compare it to like if you were to dance ballet and you go to your toe shoes. I mean, it doesn't feel good initially, but you do it anyway, and after a while you don't feel it anymore, and it's fine. So, but you have to be willing to, you have to understand that there is a little bit of a pain threshold involved. Some people really like that. It doesn't bother them, and then for other people, it's really difficult, and they have a hard time with it. So definitely, you know, you can get bruised even with the fabric. You can get bruises on your body. You can get burns on your skin. Those are probably the two biggest hazards, you know, besides falling. But the rule in the gym is don't let go. So. Don't let go and you won't fall. But yeah, people get bruises, people get burns. You have to just be really careful. And we also work a little bit with rope. So we have rope on our trapezes. Likewise, the rope can give you burns or be a little bit uncomfortable to deal with initially.
Let's get used to it though.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty rested right here, but I'm very tight in my abdominal muscles and in my feet. I think I should squeeze my feet together.
Right.
That's what's holding you.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I can squeeze my feet really tightly.
Right.
Which is actually kind of amazing when you think about it. I think compared to a lot of the different moves that we do, something like this probably doesn't look as impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the things like this are actually what I think take more skill.
Right.
Because you're not, I'm not right now.
Mm-hmm. Right, no, for sure. And you'll notice too, if you watch us tonight at the performance, that we, when you watch fabric, it's always a give and play between taking the weight in the feet or in the knot, and then passing it back and forth from the hands and the arms back to the feet. So some people think that it's all about you just hanging up there the whole time from your arms, but really, you know, you're passing the weight back and forth, which enables you to stay up there for long periods of time. Here's a pretty move. It's called a lotus hang. Now the pressure on the inside of her leg there is really intense. It's really intense.
I don't know if my thumbs are up or down right now. Couldn't tell you. But this is pretty comfortable because I've got a knot right underneath my foot.
Mm-hmm. So we like to take this rig out. We performed this last summer at the Midwest Renewable Energy Fair in Amherst. We performed outside on the rig in 90-degree weather. We also performed recently at the University of Wisconsin indoors in the Fine Arts Center. Set up the rig. Hopefully we'll be performing there again in January. I also performed last year at the Kohler Arts Center in Sheboygan, if any of you are familiar with that. We actually didn't need the rig because in their atrium, when you first enter the building, they have steel I-beams that are 40 feet in the air. So we were able to rig from the I-beams and perform in that space, which was really cool too. So the nice thing about this rig is, you know, we can take it places and we can perform if the space doesn't come with what we need, which are the I-beams that we're looking for. So this rig really makes it easy for us to.
It's a little low.
It is very low right now, but there you go. You're doing a great job, Whitney.
What's interesting, so we're used to slightly higher ceilings. So I'm finding that some of the things that we do
Right.
don't quite work the same, but
As
there's a
you-
couple things we haven't done before.
As you get closer to the rig point, it gets really, the tension is quite high. So when Whitney tries to pull the fabrics at the height that she's at, it requires a lot more energy and strength because it's tighter up next to that rig point. So it just makes things a little bit more difficult, so.
You guys want to see? Matthew!
We even put the top of this rig on a trailer, and we participated in the Stevens Point 4th of July parade. So we hung the lyra, just the lyra, and it was, I don't know, maybe, 15 inches off the bottom of the trailer, so it wasn't high or anything, but Whitney sat in it, flipped upside down, and waved at all the folks while we went down the road in the parade, which was pretty cool. Yeah, it was pretty cool. We had to we bolted the feet down into the trailer, so yeah, worked well.
It's definitely a different dynamic performing outside than it is performing inside. We have to contend with the wind. I don't think we've ever had too much of an issue on it,
No.
but it's something you gotta consider.
Mhm.
And then of course weather, but
Yeah.
and then your space. We've got this rig. You want to keep it at a pretty level space. We're setting up on bricks.
Right, that can be a little bit difficult. If it was really windy and we had a contract to perform outside, and let's say the wind got to be an issue, like we, just for safety reasons, wouldn't be able to perform because the wind can just topple this thing right over.